It's a chilly autumn evening in 1817, and the Bell family is huddled together in their Tennessee farmhouse, paralyzed with fear. The sound of disembodied voices, slapping and pulling of hair has been escalating for weeks, but tonight it's reached a boiling point. The family's patriarch, John Bell, is at his wit's end, desperate to protect his loved ones from the unseen force that's tormenting them. His daughter, Betsy, is traumatized, her eyes wide with terror as the entity whispers cruel taunts in her ear. The air is thick with tension, and the family's screams echo through the night, but no one comes to their aid. Who or what is behind this relentless assault, and why has it chosen the Bell family as its target? But no one was prepared for what came next. To understand how the Bell family's life descended into chaos, we need to go back to a time when their farm was a peaceful haven. It's the early 1800s, and the Bells have just moved to their new home in Red River, Tennessee, eager to start a new life. John Bell, a farmer and a veteran of the American Revolution, is a respected member of the community, known for his kindness and integrity. His family is loving and close-knit, with his wife, Lucy, and their children, Betsy, John Jr., and Richard, all working together to build a prosperous farm. The atmosphere is warm and welcoming, with the sounds of laughter and hard work filling the air. But as the days turn into weeks and the weeks into months, a sense of unease begins to creep in, like a slow-moving storm cloud on the horizon. The answer, when it finally came, was worse than anyone imagined. The early 19th century was a time of significant social change in the United States. The country was expanding rapidly, with the Louisiana Purchase of 1803 and the Mexican-American War of 1846-1848. The Industrial Revolution was in full swing, with new technologies and manufacturing techniques transforming the economy. The Bell family, like many others, was caught up in this wave of change, seeking to build a better life for themselves and their children. However, this period of rapid growth and transformation also created social and economic tensions, as different groups vied for power and influence. The atmosphere was charged with uncertainty, and the Bells, like many others, were struggling to adapt. It was in this context of social upheaval that the strange occurrences on the Bell farm began to escalate, and the family found themselves facing a malevolent force that would change their lives forever. And then the record simply stopped. The first signs of something amiss on the Bell farm were subtle but unmistakable. It started with small, seemingly insignificant events: a door creaking open on its own, a faint whisper in the night, or an unexplained noise in the attic. At first, the family dismissed these occurrences as mere coincidence or the result of a settling house. However, as the events continued to happen, they began to feel a growing sense of unease. It was as if the farm itself was trying to tell them something, but they couldn't quite decipher the message. The family's initial skepticism slowly gave way to concern, and they started to wonder if something more sinister was at play. But no one could have predicted the horror that was to come. As the days turned into weeks, the strange occurrences on the Bell farm escalated, and the family found themselves facing a malevolent force that seemed determined to destroy them. The whispers in the night grew louder, the doors creaked open with greater frequency, and the unexplained noises became more intense. The family's initial fear gave way to outright terror, as they realized that they were facing a force that was beyond their control. The entity, which came to be known as the Bell Witch, began to exert its influence over the family, causing them to experience vivid and disturbing visions. The family's mental and physical health began to deteriorate, and they became increasingly isolated from their community. The answer, when it finally came, was worse than anyone imagined. The Bell Witch's fury knew no bounds, and the family found themselves facing a torrent of physical and emotional abuse. The entity would slap them, pull their hair, and whisper cruel taunts in their ears. The family's physical health began to deteriorate, and they became increasingly despondent. The entity's influence extended beyond the family, as it began to affect the animals on the farm, causing them to behave strangely and unpredictably. The family's crops began to wither and die, and their livestock fell ill. It was as if the Bell Witch had declared war on the family, and they were powerless to stop it. Something doesn't add up, and the family is about to discover a dark secret that will change everything. Everything pointed to the Bell Witch being a malevolent spirit, determined to destroy the family. But then a dark secret was revealed, one that would change the course of the family's history forever. It was discovered that the Bell Witch was not just a random entity, but was actually the spirit of a woman named Kate Batts, who had been wronged by John Bell in the past. The revelation raised more questions than answers, and the family was left to wonder if they had been the victims of a curse, or if the Bell Witch was simply a manifestation of their own guilt and shame. The truth, when it finally came to light, was more complex and nuanced than anyone could have imagined. As the family delved deeper into the mystery of the Bell Witch, they began to uncover a complex web of secrets and lies that went far beyond a simple haunting. They discovered that Kate Batts had been a neighbor of the Bell family, and that John Bell had been involved in a dispute with her over a land deal. The dispute had ended in tragedy, with Kate Batts losing her land and her livelihood. The family began to realize that the Bell Witch was not just a random entity, but was actually a manifestation of the guilt and shame that they had been carrying for years. The truth was complex and nuanced, and the family was forced to confront their own dark past in order to understand the true nature of the haunting. The Bell Witch haunting took a devastating toll on the family, both physically and emotionally. The constant barrage of attacks and torments left them feeling drained and exhausted. The family's mental health began to deteriorate, and they became increasingly isolated from their community. The children were traumatized, and their education and social development suffered as a result. The family's relationships with each other began to fray, and they started to turn on each other in desperation. The haunting also took a financial toll, as the family's crops and livestock began to suffer. The family was on the brink of collapse, and it seemed as though the Bell Witch was determined to destroy them completely. But no one was prepared for the ultimate cost of the haunting. As the Bell Witch haunting continued to captivate the public's imagination, a number of explanations were put forward to explain the strange occurrences. Some believed that the haunting was the result of a curse placed upon the family by a disgruntled neighbor. Others believed that it was the work of a malevolent spirit determined to destroy the family. However, as the investigation into the haunting continued, it became clear that there was more to the story than met the eye. The family's own accounts of the haunting were riddled with inconsistencies and contradictions, and it seemed as though they were hiding something. The truth, when it finally came to light, was more complex and nuanced than anyone could have imagined. As the Bell Witch haunting continued to make headlines, a number of investigators and experts were called in to try and get to the bottom of the mystery. They included paranormal investigators, psychologists, and historians, all of whom brought their own unique perspectives and expertise to the case. The investigators began by interviewing the family and gathering evidence, including eyewitness accounts and physical evidence. They also conducted a number of experiments, including seances and spirit conjurings, in an attempt to communicate with the entity. The investigation was thorough and exhaustive, and it seemed as though the truth was finally within reach. But the more they dug, the more they realized that the truth was far more complex and nuanced than they had ever imagined. The official explanation for the Bell Witch haunting was that it was the result of a hoax perpetrated by the family's daughter, Betsy. According to this theory, Betsy had been responsible for the strange occurrences, using her cunning and intelligence to create the illusion of a malevolent spirit. However, this explanation was not universally accepted, and many believed that it was a simplistic and inadequate explanation for the complex and nuanced events that had occurred. The truth, when it finally came to light, was far more complex and disturbing than anyone could have imagined. The official explanation was a convenient way to explain away the strange occurrences, but it did not provide any real insight into the true nature of the haunting. The closest truth to the Bell Witch haunting is that it was a complex and multifaceted phenomenon, which cannot be explained by a single theory or explanation. The haunting was the result of a combination of factors, including the family's own guilt and shame, the malevolent spirit of Kate Batts, and the societal and cultural context in which the haunting occurred. The truth is that the Bell Witch haunting was a unique and singular event, which cannot be replicated or explained by any one theory or explanation. The haunting was a product of its time and place, and it continues to fascinate and haunt us to this day. The truth, when it finally came to light, was more complex and nuanced than anyone could have imagined. The most disturbing fact about the Bell Witch haunting is that it was not just a product of the family's imagination, but was actually a real and tangible phenomenon, which was witnessed by numerous people, including President Andrew Jackson. The haunting was a malevolent and destructive force, which caused immense suffering and trauma to the family and those around them. The fact that the haunting was real and that it was witnessed by so many people is a testament to the enduring power of the human psyche and the mysteries that lie beyond the veil of reality. The truth, when it finally came to light, was more complex and disturbing than anyone could have imagined. The Bell Witch haunting is a dark and disturbing chapter in American history, which continues to fascinate and haunt us to this day. The haunting is a testament to the enduring power of the human psyche and the mysteries that lie beyond the veil of reality. The legacy of the Bell Witch is a complex and multifaceted one, which continues to inspire and terrify us. The haunting is a reminder that there are forces beyond our understanding, which can affect our lives in profound and unexpected ways. If this kept you up at night, subscribe. We post dark history every week.